over it.
Thank you, Nate. Nate just reminded me we need to be recording, so we're gonna go through this all again. No, just kidding. So Craig, you'll be the first one recorded. Go for it.
I'm Craig Tufts from Central New Hampshire Regional Planning.
Okay, great. Hopefully I'm getting this right. So James Penfold?
He already introduced himself,
Oh, you did.
and so did Mike.
And so did Mike, and so did Colin. We have Tim Clarke.
Good morning, I'm Tim Clarke, Public Works Director for the City of Manchester.
Good morning and welcome. John O'Connor.
Good morning, observing Southern New Hampshire Planning Commissioner and Chairman of Derry Planning Board.
Thank you so much, John. And Jessica.
Hey everybody, Jessica Wilcox with the Department of Environmental Services.
Thanks, Jessica. Did anyone else come in while my back was turned? No, we're good.
No, we're good.
I think we've gone around the whole room. I can go to bed now. Oh my God. All right, let's go.
Okay, for the sake of the recording, Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission TAC meeting February 16th. And hope everyone's reviewed the notes from the last meeting. So I'd like to have any comment?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the minutes of January 19, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Asked, before we get started on new business, we want to yield the floor to Bill Watson of the New Hampshire Department of Transportation.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Bill Watson is with us. He introduced himself a few minutes ago. Bill is the administrator of the Bureau of Planning and Community Assistance at New Hampshire DOT. It is that bureau of the DOT that actually oversees the CMAQ program solicitation. There is some breaking news from New Hampshire DOT about the CMAQ program, and yes, we will yield the floor to Bill Watson to share that information with everyone.
So thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Nate, for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for listening to me babble for a few minutes. I see the clock behind Bruce up on the wall there, so I will try not to take too much time. It's a good reminder for me. I have spent so I want to apologize for a couple of things to everyone that's here. You, at the end of when I'm finished talking, you may feel that some of your work effort has been unnecessary. I hope that you realize that all of the work that all of you are doing is extremely valuable and extremely helpful. And the steps that are being taken this morning at the TAC meeting to present all the CMAQ applications is going to be very helpful both to the Southern Hampshire Planning Commission as well as ourselves and others that pay attention to CMAQ projects moving forward. The other reason for apologizing is there has been a lot of uncertainty within the process for this CMAQ application round. And the uncertainty is not so much about the application process and prioritization and air quality. There are some unknowns that we always have in that regard. It is how to handle the uncertainty and the difficulty has been with the need to figure out how to handle all of the applications that we received. The state of New Hampshire DOT received 46 applications statewide. We could have had more, I believe. In some cases, applicants were limited to the number of applications they received simply because we wanted to be fair and see how the distribution of funding would be statewide. That 46, those 46 applications totaled about $44 million in federal funding requests, which is about 50% more than we anticipate to be available. So significantly more in requests than we have available for CMAQ dollars. The other thing that we saw that we have not seen before, nearly as significantly, when we did our last round of CMAQ in 2019, we received 2 applications at that time for EV charging infrastructure. We received an application from New Hampshire DES, and we received one application from the Pease Development Authority. And those applications were awarded, and those projects have sat on hold since 2019. And the reason for that is because there has been a lack of federal direction. No disrespect meant to my federal partners that are in the meeting here. Lee has been an advocate to move these projects forward. I'm talking about a national, federal level, high level direction. Buy America was always a concern. Now Buy America, Build America is a bigger concern for EV infrastructure. And then in the IIJA or Bill Act, whichever way you want to refer to it, we had the creation of the NEVI program, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, carbon reduction funding, and a number of other programs that are intended to help and support EV infrastructure and advance that topic and that priority for the president and the federal government. So this time around, of the 46 applications that we received, 22 of them were for EV charging infrastructure. So 22 out of the 46 applications were for EV charging stations. I think most of them were fast charge stations, but different varieties. The number of charging stations, the uptime, the kilowatt support, the locations of them, be them on private, at private facilities, some at public facilities. No discussion of uptime requirements, data reporting requirements, and things like that, because we didn't know. We haven't had guidance from the feds as to what would be expected for all of these sites. So we've been talking internally with our commissioners and directors in the commissioner's office here at DOT. And earlier this week, we came to a recommendation that the commissioner supported. It's gotten a little more convoluted in the last 24 hours, but we're going to continue to move forward with that recommendation, and that's why I'm here today. So in short, if we look at the non-EV applications, the total request that has come into us is about $32 million of federal funding. So a little bit within 10% of the amount that was anticipated being available for projects. We still have to do final screenings for eligibility. We still have to do final screenings for making sure the scopes and the budgets of those projects match and are feasible. But if they are, the commissioner plans on recommending that all 24 of those projects, and we need to make sure there's a positive air quality benefit, that's a quantitative analysis is done for these projects. If all of those things get their check marks of pass, that we've done a good job, the commissioner will be recommending that all 24 of those projects be added to the draft 10-year plan. That saves some effort and some time for department staff, MPO and Rural Regional Planning Commission staff and others. But more importantly, it allows those projects to move forward directly into the draft 10-year plan. The question then becomes, how do we address the 22 applications that are EV applications? So our goal has not changed in answering that question. What has changed in the last 24 hours is that we were notified by Federal Highway yesterday that there is a final rule to be published. We saw an unofficial copy of it, and the staff there at Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and all the other RPCs and MPOs have received a link to that information. We have received just yesterday afternoon information about an implementation plan to help incentivize the electric vehicle charging infrastructure programs for people that are willing to invest in it. And we also saw a notice of funding opportunity for a standalone EV program I'm oversimplifying it. I have not looked at all of the details of that. I spent more of my time in the final rule last night and this morning. But we're finally starting to get some answers from Federal Highway and US DOT and the federal government in general as to how to move forward with those EV projects. The concerns for us haven't changed though. We do have a NEVI program. We do have a NEVI plan. Those that are, the staff there can probably explain a lot of the details in more detail than I'm aware of. But the goal is through that NEVI program for each state to establish a network, a corridor-based network with certain expectations. Each state had to submit a plan of intended activities to the federal government for approval last August, I believe it was. And so any electric vehicle infrastructure that we build in New Hampshire needs to follow that plan, regardless of the funding source, regardless of whether we use NEVI funding or we use CMAQ or we use congestion reduction funding or other federal highway funding sources. The final rule helps us to kind of frame the questions that we need to ask about each of the EV applications that are come in, but it doesn't answer anything about on its own. It doesn't answer anything about resolving how to move forward with these applications. Can we move forward with a location that's identified to be co-located at a convenience store, a supermarket, a privately owned facility? Can we move forward with a project that's located on publicly owned property within a community? Is there a difference between the two? How do we manage the data? How do we make that transparent data and real time available to people? All of those things still need to be considered. We still need to flesh those things out. And so what we're being asked and required to do by the commissioner here is to work with our NEVI program manager. We have a gentleman here at DOT, Mike Moser, who is in charge of this electric vehicle program. Mike has been waiting for this guidance. He's been telling me for a few months now that 2 weeks from now we're going to get it. And so finally it appears that we've got this guidance. Between now and fall, when the Gazetted hearing starts, it's our commitment and the expectation of the commissioner that we are going to come back to these EV applications and hopefully be able to come up with a plan to submit them to Gazetted, at least for discussion and hopefully for a vote for funding, using not only what we think might be still available CMAQ dollars, but also NEVI dollars, carbon reduction funding dollars that are available to the states to use for efforts like this, and then see as well what opportunities that people might look at for other sources as well. So the short version is the direction from the commissioner to myself and to the CMAQ program manager is move 24 non-EV applications forward, do all the technical stuff that we need to do, and add them to the draft 25 to 34 10-year plan when that's released later this summer, and continue to become more educated as to what the EV final rules are, to work with all of you as applicants for EV applications through CMAQ, and come up with a game plan for all of you within the next 6 months for how we can move forward with those EV applications without holding up, if we need to, the rest of the CMAQ round. What we don't want to do is we don't want to hold all 46 applications back from being funded simply because we don't know all the answers yet. But the reality is we still don't know all the answers about EV. And so at this point in time, this is the direction we've been given. That's what I've got.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bill, for all of that information. Would it be okay if people ask questions of you, Bill, or?
I have no problem with it. It's totally up, whatever fits into your schedule and priorities there.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Bill? Mark.
I have a clarification question. So Bill, you mentioned you got $44 million in requests and about half of that money is available. So call it 22 million.
you said that the non-EV stations were a total of 32 million. Are you saying that you're willing to adopt the full 32 million into the program, being 10 million shy in your CMAQ funding?
Yeah, so what I think I said was that we have 44 million in requests, which is about 50% more than what was available. We had about 30 million available.
You had 30 million, okay.
And we're looking at about 32 million in applications that are non-EV. So for us, that 10% difference is an acceptable amount to be working with.
Okay, thank you.
And it was 12, so the flip side is it was 12 million for 22 EV apps that we received. And the costs were very, I'm saying it wrong. They were across the spectrum. They were not consistent. So one of the big things on the EV side is coming up with and there may be reasons for that. It may not just be infrastructure, it may be property rights or other things, but we had a very broad spectrum of costs on the EV side. But to answer your question specifically, yes, we feel that $32 million fitting into a 30 million program is a reasonable way of moving forward.
Bill, can I just maybe clarify just a couple of things? And if I say something that's not correct, or if my understanding is not correct, then please do correct me.
Absolutely.
For us, we had 11 applications. 4 of those are not EV related. Those being Manchester, Londonderry, Bedford, and New Hampshire DOT Bureau of Traffic. Our understanding would be that those 4 would move forward into the 10-year plan immediately, recognizing that there still needs to be eligibility determinations and air quality analyses done in the interim.
Correct.
The other 7, 2 Merchants Fleet, 2 Nouria, 2 Revision Energy, and the town of Derry still have a path forward into the 10-year plan potentially. That path forward doesn't necessarily go through the CMAQ program. It could be through carbon reduction funds or NEVI funds or other sources of funding that are not CMAQ related.
Correct. Correct. The commissioner has directed us to figure that out to make a path forward for them.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I had a question about the 10-year plan timeline for implementation. The Bedford project has a match that has, it's an impact fee contribution. So we're running up against a timeline for when that money needs to be committed, and it aligned with the CMAQ grant program funding. I'm just curious, moving these projects to the 10-year plan, what does the timeline look like for implementation? Is that like yet to be determined, or would it go through the typical 10-year plan prioritization process?
Sure. Great question. It was the intent of the CMAQ program to go through the 10-year plan process as well. I think that's the way that Tom had described it in all of his prior conversations and workshops and such. So the answer to your question is that the available funding is based on what we consider projected balances available CMAQ funds in fiscal years 25 through 28 that will be in the next approved 10-year plan. So the 10-year plan will be approved. The 25 to 34 10-year plan will be approved in June of 2025. So we would look to start projects that following October if towns and applicants are ready to move forward with them. So October 25 is really the end of federal fiscal 25, beginning of federal fiscal 26.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question, Bill. This is James from Revision.
Yeah.
Just wondering, I know this is happening really quickly for you, but whether you have a very, very ballpark idea of when we might hear from you with some more direction on timing about the next steps for these EV related CMAQ apps.
Yeah, so it's, less than 6 months, James, and I don't mean that to be flippant, but that's the best I can give you right now.
Okay.
I don't know if there'll be additional guidance or direction that Federal Highway has to publish prior to the states being able to really implement anything. I have not had that opportunity to talk with the division office, with Lee or others yet, and we certainly have to make sure that what we do is coordinated closely with the intended NEVI plan that was submitted to and accepted by Federal Highway last fall. It's going to take us some effort, some time. But it was clear from the final, what the final rule really did for us, or the unofficial link that we saw yesterday, is it did speak to all federally funded EV infrastructure efforts and projects. And that was that was what we were anticipating, but that whether it creates more work for us or less work for us, knowing that the final rule is really addressing all funding, all federal highway funding sources of EV infrastructure consistently, will help us, assist us to come up with a game plan for all of the potential locations. It could have gone much differently and been much more difficult to create a path forward.
So that ruling is different than the one that I saw yesterday, I presume, that was just on NEVI. You guys at DOT saw more of a holistic, all of the various federal funds.
If you read that, it talks about all Title 23 projects, and that in itself goes far beyond NEVI on its own.
Okay, thank you.
But I do believe it's the same. Well, I think we're referring to the same document. But yes, it does go further than just NEVI.
It's a big document. I didn't get a chance to read all of it. Yeah,
it is huge.
Any other questions? Okay. Want to proceed with presentations?
Yes, so thank you all. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts, and I really appreciate, first of all, everyone's enthusiasm for, I think every single applicant immediately jumped on board with the opportunity to present. So really appreciate everyone who has joined us today. It's going to make for a dynamic and educational session. Obviously, given what we've learned, and just feel free to correct me if I say anything inappropriate or like that's not reading this correctly, but we do not need to prioritize with the commission to move forward with the non-EV projects. So what that means for our presentations is that perhaps that takes away a little bit of the tinge of competition. And we can do this hopefully pretty concisely and use this as a really important informational and educational opportunity that will help the TAC and the commission be able to advocate for this work moving forward. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. We have a very, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you say we don't have to prioritize the 22?
We will not have to prioritize.
What does that mean? I
So
don't understand what you're saying.
We otherwise would have evaluated all of the applications according to a set of criteria and developed a recommendation for priorities. In this case, we know that the universe of non-EV projects is going to be funded. So
Period. We're not going to look at any of those.
We don't need to do a prioritization process anymore.
We're gonna look at them.
we'll still do the air quality analysis
Yes,
and we'll be
they-
reaching out to everybody moving forward to get the data we need to complete that. But we had a prioritization subcommittee that was created last time that now no longer needs to meet.
One less meeting.
I have one more question, and it's to refresh my memory. Is the fact that the particular projects are on our radar? Are they on our radar because we already did preliminary review to get them there? I just want to make sure that I'm not saying, oh, sure, go ahead, spend the money on whatever you want, and we haven't really looked at those projects, or did we already look at them once, and that's why we're to the point.
They still need to be quote unquote looked at. So there needs to be a positive air quality benefit that's demonstrated for every project that's funded in the program. And so we still will be doing the air quality analyses for all of the projects to make sure that there is an air quality benefit. But in terms of us having to go through a prioritization process and ranking projects against each other, we don't need to do that.
Great. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump in. We are obviously a little bit behind schedule, given this, all the announcements that happened this morning. So what we've allocated for is 10 minutes per project. That's maximum 7 minutes to present, maximum 2 minutes of Q&A, and about a minute per changeover. I'm sure if anybody is able to, who feels more relaxed based upon today's announcement, wants to do a higher level kind of informational presentation that's much more concise, I'm sure folks would appreciate that too. But we really, really value the time that you all put into these presentations. And I think that this is a really great way to convene a great diversity of people and learn more about the work that's going on and throughout the region. So with that, our first presenter is
I have one quick question. So if we're presenting EV chargers today, could we just wait to present at another time?
I do think we would leave that up to you if you wish to do that. There is value in this TAC, knowing about your project and being able to advocate for it in the 10-year plan process that will be coming up in the coming months.
Okay.
So there is certainly value in this regional group, knowing about your project and then being able to advocate for it.
May I just point out, there's a lot of diverse people in here, and it might solidify your application if we take a look and perhaps comment on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could help you.
Okay, so of course, if anybody chooses to not present today, that is completely understandable, but we welcome everybody to stay. And I think we all have a lot of interest in hearing from folks who took the time to prepare their materials. Okay, so Jillian, you're next. I think you're first on our list with Town of Bedford. Sylvia, can you pass over? You already did?
I already did.
Beautiful. So feel free to share your screen. I will keep time with my trusty phone and probably give you an announcement when you have about 2 minutes left in presenting.
Okay, thank you. Jillian Harris with the Town of Bedford. Becky Hebert, the planning director, and also Jean Walker, our assistant town manager, are also here with me to help answer questions, but I'll just start with an overview of the project, and in the interest of time, I'll try to move through pretty quickly for you, Suzanne. Can everybody see my screen with the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. So for our CMAQ application, we are proposing a new sidewalk. See if this will move forward for me. Here we go. That will connect the New Hampshire Route 101 intersection with along Old Bedford Road to the Route 114 overpass in the Memorial Elementary School area. It will connect existing pedestrian infrastructure in that area of Bedford with some key locations and some destinations for different uses in the area. So we've got some existing infrastructure in this mixed-use development, which contains multifamily apartment complex, professional offices, preschool, daycare, restaurants, healthcare, assisted living. And then across the way, we have senior housing and a hotel and restaurant. We also have a professional office park on the Constitution Drive area that will be connected to the new sidewalk as well. This connection will also provide a safe route to school for many of the surrounding residential neighborhoods to Memorial Elementary School. And I think I will come back to this map if needed, but we'll move through. Just a short little tour of the corridor here. The new sidewalk will be constructed within the town's existing right-of-way. No new easements are required. And we'll start here with Memorial Elementary School and then looking east on Old Bedford Road. You can see there is an existing crosswalk over to the church across the street. And then there's some existing pedestrian infrastructure on the overpass area for Route 114. And then looking west on Old Bedford Road, the sidewalk would continue up the corridor on this side of the road. We're moving down the corridor to the intersection with Corporate Drive. In this photo, we're looking towards Old Bedford Way, where the senior housing development is currently being developed. This is the intersection with the mixed-use development up on Corporate Drive. And then we're looking north on Old Bedford Road, up towards Bowman Place, which is assisted living as well. And then looking south on Old Bedford Road towards the New Hampshire 101 intersection. Moving down the corridor, this is the intersection with Levy Drive along Old Bedford Road. There is some existing pedestrian infrastructure that goes up Levy Drive into the development. And we'd like to connect that with the new sidewalk that would lead down to the New Hampshire Route 101 corridor. And then looking north, it would go up towards that Corporate Drive intersection that was in the last pictures. And this is just some pictures of the existing pedestrian infrastructure along Levy Drive and up in the mixed use development. As for project readiness and support, the town's pedestrian and bicycle connectivity master plan identifies this area as a priority for sidewalks. The area is also identified in the 2021 Bedford master plan as a priority area for sidewalks. In the regional metropolitan transportation plan, this section of the New Hampshire Route 101 that connects to this project area has been identified as currently operating near or over capacity during peak hour periods. And developing pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure for active transportation is a region-wide strategy that has been identified to relieve congestion. We have town council support for the project, along with support from Memorial Elementary School and the developer of the mixed-use development. And I think I'll turn it over to Jean to talk about the cost estimates and if there's any questions with that financial readiness portion of the project.
Thank you, Jillian. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So the cost estimate on this project might appear low to you all at first glance, but one of the things that makes this project for us so unique is that we were looking to install the sidewalks back in 2015 when we rebuilt Old Bedford Road. And
you've got 2 minutes left.
Okay. And there was just no money for the sidewalks at that point. However, what we did do at the because it had already been designed, we had installed all of the drainage already. So that decreased the amount of money that we're requesting for this project. So we're basically looking for a bituminous sidewalk and as well as the granite curbing, you know, crosswalks and all of the other safety improvements. We, because we did that project, we got all of the right of way at that point. There's no need for right of way at this. We are, you know, basically ready for construction. We're planning on, you know, hiring the LPA certified consultants, but we do have staff members that are also certified. We have made a commitment to the maintenance. And we, you know, we're doing the winter maintenance plowing of 101 sidewalks. This would connect into that. And so, you know, the DPW will not be winter maintaining, obviously be maintaining the sidewalks and the crosswalks in the long run as part of our program that we do currently for the rest of the towns. That's all that I had as far as that goes. You want to go to the next slide, Jillian?
It's just our contact information.
Yep. Thank you very much. And I think we'll open it up for questions. And I think I finished on.
Yeah. You made it under the wire. Any questions? Okay. All right. And who's on deck? We have, and are there any questions online? Just checking on that.
And you can stop sharing, Jillian. Thank you.
And it looks like we have Jeff Moulton who will be next.
Right, Jeff,
Hunting for
let me
Derry.
make you a co-host. All right.
All right, Jeff, take it away.
All right. So I guess I gotta share my screen, or are you guys gonna present the slides?
No, you share your screen, Jeff.
Okay.
I think we do have your slides if you need us to advance them. We have those.
Okay. Do you guys see the slides?
Nope.
All right.
And while he's doing that, I don't know if we have.
Share screen.
There we go. Something's happening.
Something's happening now.
You see it?
Not quite yet.
You started screen sharing.
It just says it's, yeah.
Says it's paused. Shit, why is it going?
If you want, I think you sent them to me yesterday. I could try pulling them up and
You can
sharing.
pull them up on our end, Jeff.
Yeah. See,
Sorry about that, but
Okay. Here we go. So let me go ahead and take back our Zoom control. View options. Can you unshare your screen? We'll stop participant sharing. Here we go. And we'll share our screen. See if this works. Can folks online see this?
Yep, I can see it. If you can go right to the second slide.
All right, hold on. There we go.
Yep, slide 2.
Okay, there we go.
So we approached this from the CMAQ evaluation criteria. So the second slide talks about project readiness and support. So just a little bit of background, the Town Council of Derry formed a net zero task force back in 2016 with the explicit goal of achieving net zero by 2025. So there are a number of things that we've been doing and implementing during that time. And one of the things that we've been grappling with is converting the town fleet to electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. And part of that is obviously the cost for the EVCS infrastructure and the extra cost for buying electric vehicles in today's market. But there has been tremendous support from the town council. This was a group formed by the town council. It's the chairman of the council is on this committee, as well as the members of the planning board, code enforcement, schools, and 5 members of the public. So the charter here is to implement a number of initiatives that's going to save the town money, improve air quality, and really move us towards net zero. So we also have a very experienced Department of Public Works led by Mike Fowler. He has engineers, electricians, and construction personnel. And with experience in EVCS, we put in some level 2 chargers about 5 years ago, as well as some a solar project out at our landfill site. So, and Mike himself has LPA certification that he can get renewed quite quickly if we were chosen. Moving on to the third slide. Over the last 10 years, we've implemented a number of projects that have saved us close to $900,000. We're putting in a 2.2 megawatt solar project at our landfill site that's going to enable us to be 100%, that will cover 100% of the municipal electrical supply and save us $3.5 to $10 million a year. And we've been working very hard on benchmarking the fleet of vehicles within the town for EV and HEV replacements. And what our analysis showed is that the vast majority of the vehicles can be charged with level 2, with the exception of the police patrol cars. The police patrol cars have a kind of a unique operating procedure where they run 24/7, 7 days a week. And in some emergency cases, they need to be calling in all vehicles to run support for crises or whatever is going on in town where all vehicles need to be on site. So there was an exception in our application to include a level 3 charger too, specifically for the police force. We've done cost estimates for the EVCS infrastructure as well as the cars. One of the things that the CMAQ had in here was that you couldn't put in the total cost of the vehicle. You had to put in the differential between the cost of an electric vehicle or hybrid vehicle versus what you're paying today for a ICE or gas powered vehicle. The town is rated very well by our auditors. We have had no financial issues for the last 10 years. The town is also able to approve expenditures within up to a 3-week period via public notices. So we have the track record of approving these types of projects over the last 5 to 10 years. And again, it's back to the Public Works, Mike Fowler's group, who actually does the implementation of this, whereas the Net Zero Task Force is more in the initial planning and estimating business case mode. So the life expectancies for these for the infrastructure is quite long, 25 to 30 years. Most of the investment in level 2, level 3 is really in the construction, which is highly high content for US made material. The chargers themselves are relatively low cost, and those are the ones that would experience the most wear and tear, and they would probably have to be changed out every 5 to 6 years, but that is a very small part of the overall cost, and even if they were sourced outside the US.
Jeff, you have just under 2 minutes remaining.
Okay. So we've done a fairly detailed analysis. There was a spreadsheet attached in the application that ran through the costs for us of close to 1.5 million. But we believe the air quality benefits for EVCS and the implementation of electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles is really offers the most potential for all these projects to improve air quality. So it's somewhat disappointing that at this point that these projects are being put on hold when they can have the biggest impact for the state. But it is what it is. And I'll open it up for any questions.
Stop sharing. Sure. I did. Oh, I thought I did. Stop sharing.
I would add that we've been planning on this for 5 years, and we know the costs very well. We know the benefits very well. So I'm not quite sure why it's taking the feds and the state so long to get on board with this, but we hope they do soon.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
All right.
Michael left Londonderry. Here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and Michael, make you a co-host right now. So you should have screen sharing capability. And
we're not hearing.
We can't hear you, so you might still be on mute.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
And are you seeing my screen?
We see a map.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, I'll make this as quick as I can based on the schedule that we're trying to keep. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Malaguti. I'm the town manager in Londonderry. And I have Bob Rimmel on the Zoom with me as well. Bob is the president of Londonderry Trailways, which built and maintains the Londonderry Rail Trail. Our project is phase 7 of the Londonderry Rail Trail. This entails completing an unfinished gap that runs from the Derry town line up to Route 28 in Londonderry near exit 5. That gap is a little over a half a mile. In addition to the air quality benefits, our project is important because this gap straddles 2 important economic centers. And those are the Pentgill Road area around the Manchester Airport, which is in Londonderry, and the Exit 4A area, which is part of the Woodmont Commons PUD. You can see the Woodmont Commons area right in here. And while the interchange will open up these 230 acres to vehicular traffic, you can see that the rail trail runs right by this area and will open it up for pedestrian and bicycle traffic. The Woodmont Master Plan favors and integrates accommodations for bicycle and pedestrian traffic. And completing this work will allow folks to commute in and out of that area because it is programmed for significant residential to the surrounding area. Completing the project will also allow folks to commute north and south to fast-growing areas like Salem, Wyndham, Derry, and then of course to our commercial and industrial engine really around Manchester Airport. I think it's relevant that the Londonderry Rail Trail is just couldn't have enough community support. It's just folks really love the Londonderry Rail Trail. A lot of that is recreational, to be sure. But I can tell you that we even here at Town Hall have people who commute in from Manchester on their bikes on nice days in the spring and the summer. There are multiple parties with skin in the game here. The town has invested and will continue to invest staff resources and money in completing and maintaining the rail trail. And of course, Londonderry Trailways is primarily responsible for fundraising and for maintaining the rail trail. And as a example of how they're continuing to do that, they are continuing to they're funding the preliminary engineering work for our project. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm sure Bob would be able to take any questions as well.
Thank you so much. All right, no questions in the room. I don't think we have questions online. Thank you.
Kristen Clarke.
So
Thank you.
Kristen, we're moving on to you next. Thanks, Michael. I just have to find,
She's next to mine.
oh, thank you. Okay, Kristen. Whenever you're ready.
Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So my name is Kristen Clarke. I'm the traffic engineer with the city of Manchester, and I'm going to go through our project, which is some Mammoth Road improvements. So we'll talk quickly about some of the existing conditions and then the criteria for the application. So the city of Manchester is looking at a 1.7 mile section of Mammoth Road in Manchester from the south to from the Bridge Street and Wellington Road intersection. And on the southern end, the Silly Road and Hughes Road intersection. There's technically 5 signalized intersections on this corridor, most of them operating at capacity. So looking at traffic signal upgrades and optimizations and potential for turning lanes and one section of missing sidewalk. So overall, it fits the criteria by providing signal system optimization, adding turn lane, and improving transportation systems management and operations. So I'm going to go through each of these signals from this, the northern intersection of Mammoth Road and Wellington Road. Anyone that was here for all of Nate's presentations on the 10-year plan, the city did submit Mammoth or the Bridge Street Wellington Road corridor as part of our 10-year plan process. It was determined that it could be a phased project, and the capacity improvements were listed as a top priority in the region. And it was suggested that some of the signal upgrades here be included in the CMAQ process. VHB did a scoping study on this for the 10-year plan, and they saw that there was variability in optimal cycle length and suggested that adaptive signal control could help improve traffic flow at this intersection. Moving south at Lake Ave and Hanover Street, these two signals have very close spacing. They're about 400 feet away from each other and have several approaches that operate at level of service E and F with high delay and queuing impacts during peak hours. So some optimization and signal performance measures or adaptive signal control will help improve operations and coordination between these two signals. The two red lines on the map, those are areas that currently have no sidewalk. So we'd be looking to add sidewalk on at least one side of the road to help fill the gap on the Mammoth Road corridor. There was a road safety audit done in 2014 through New Hampshire DOT at the Hanover Street intersection. And it identified signal timing coordination as well as the gaps in the sidewalk network as contributing to operational and safety issues at these intersections. Moving south to the Mammoth Road at Massabesic Street and Candia Road intersections. This intersection, while it's two separate intersections, they operate on one traffic signal controller. So a lot of the phases are set up as overlaps. So they only run when their parent phase is running. But some initial analysis shows that if we can separate these out to two separate signal controllers, that we can improve coordination and delay through this area. Currently, there are queues that exceed the spacing between the intersections and several intersections operating at level of service E and F during peak hours. So we think some adaptive signal controller performance measures will help improve operations and coordination. Similarly, at Mammoth Road and the Silly Road and Hughes Road intersection, it's two separate intersections, but they operate under a single traffic signal controller with the overlap phases. We think that it could help here as well to separate them out into two separate signal controllers, and that optimization of the signals can help improve operations during the peak hours. The city is currently doing a CMAQ project that is bringing adaptive signals and signal performance measures into the city and creating a central management system that we think we can, if we can tie these in, we can have better control over the signals and their optimization. We did have Southern New Hampshire run some travel time index data for us on this corridor. The data was analyzed in 2018 and 2022, and several sections showed moderate to congested conditions during at least one of the peak periods. To go into some of the criteria quickly, we did receive a letter of support from the mayor for the grant application. She was very supportive of the traffic reduction in traffic congestion, improvement in air quality for both the residents of this area and visitors coming into the city of Manchester. The Department of Public Works has 7 LPA certified staff currently. And as project manager, I have participated in overseeing several CMAQ TAP and currently the city's RACE grant project. As I mentioned, when going through some of the intersections, it has been included in pieces in prior planning efforts, including the 10-year plan and the road safety audits.
You're at 2 minutes, Kristen.
Okay. We have requested a $3 million project with 80% federal, 20% local match. The match will be funded through the CIP program. We went to the CIP committee to request permission to apply for the grant, understanding that if it was awarded, we would need to come up with the local match. So we don't have the match today, but we have a commitment from the board to fund it if the project moves forward. We commit to maintaining all improvements as part of this application. The project is upgrading existing signals and widening existing roadways. So all services such as plowing, street cleaning, traffic signal maintenance that are currently provided to the corridor will be expanded to include the proposed improvements. We have 10 permanent full-time employees who are dedicated to our traffic maintenance. So they are well-versed in all the technology that we use out there and would be able to continue to maintain the new equipment moving forward. We have participated in several air quality analyses in the past using Federal Highway Administration air quality calculators. So in advance of this, we did collect traffic counts in December and January and developed existing condition synchro models so that we can provide the commission any of the data they need to help run the air quality analysis for this project. So with that, if anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kristen. Lisa Drake. All right. No questions. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next presenter. And I think Lisa Drake is in the room. Hi, do you want to come over here? I have your presentation loaded. Let me just find it. Oh, no, I think I might have accidentally closed it when we were having trouble unsharing our screen, so bear with me. Just a moment. Okay.
Well, in the interest of time, I'll just get started. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you today. And, you know, we do have 2 EV projects to present. So in light of the news today, I'll condense down what I had planned to say, but I do appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about Merchants Fleet, who we are, what we're doing, and why we're here, and why we've requested this funding.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
I'm just having trouble
You're
getting the
there.
screen share going. Here we go. Share. All right.
Perfect.
Can folks online see the presentation? A little big, so I think it's
There we
just
go.
moving a little slow. Okay, you can.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, so a little bit about Merchants Fleet. We are based in Hooksett, New Hampshire. We are a fleet management company working with organizations across the country, large and small, on all their vehicle needs. And so that means that we work with our clients on acquisition of vehicles, funding, leasing. We also provide services throughout the life of the vehicle, such as maintenance programs, safety programs, et cetera, and of end of life. And, you know, we are the fastest growing fleet management company in the country, working with all kinds of clients, Fortune 100 and down to, you know, smaller service organizations that are more regional. We have an innovation technology center in Chicago, Illinois. Of our 700 employees, more than half of them are based here in Hooksett. And we also have a good number of remote employees across the country as well. We have recently new ownership. We were acquired last year by Bain Capital, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, and our leadership teams are partial owners in the company as well. So this is new investment in our growth and our vision, which we'll just share. Our CEO, Brendan Keegan, has been leading Merchants for 4 years now and is a real visionary and innovator in the space and motivates us every day to ask what else we can do and how can we better meet our clients' needs and how can we be better prepared for the future. And a big part of that is about electrification of transportation. And that is why we're here today, because we are really positioning ourselves to be leaders in this space in the fleet management industry and to lead our clients towards an electrified transportation future. So we have relationships with traditional OEMs through our traditional business. So, Ford and GM and the like, but there's also a whole broad range of new players into the marketplace in terms of electric vehicles. And so we are building relationships with a whole variety of new players, both on the EV side and on the infrastructure side. And the infrastructure world, is a bit of the Wild West right now with so many players and different all different approaches to it, right? So the idea of getting federal standards in place that will apply here in New Hampshire does make sense. Although, just to be honest, we're anxious to move faster and faster. And so we just look forward to continuing this conversation and be able to move our projects forward. We have made a commitment on over 40,000 electric vehicles so that we'll be able to place those with our clients despite supply chain constraints over the coming years. And we have $2.5 billion behind that. So that's our investment of meeting our goals of 50% EV in our mobility fleet by 2025 and in our clients' fleets by 2030. Oh, sorry, wrong way. So we do have a dedicated team of EV experts in our group. So across those 700 employees in the company overall, there's a lot of people that play into electrification and EVs, but this is our dedicated team led by Hari Nair, our VP of Electrification and Sustainability. He has over 20 years of experience in designing EVs and battery systems, and so has a real technological background to bring into this space. And then we have a whole team. Myself, I come from a corporate sustainability world. I worked for Stonyfield Organics for 20 years in corporate sustainability. And so I come with that environmental mindset. And then we have on the phone here, Carolyn Powell. Today, she prepared our applications and is a researcher by nature and by education. And she is our grants and incentives specialist. So she's working with our clients across the country to access funding sources So that could be federal. More typically, it's with utility programs that vary across the country and state air quality programs, as well as the federal tax incentives and such. And then we are building our team. I have Alex Snow here today with us, and we're continuing to build this because we are working with clients and building a whole suite of services so that we can help them manage their fleets and move into the future with EVs and all the support that they need, because EVs alone don't do the job. As we know, we need to have strong charging solutions for them. This is just a clip from our website. So we've compiled all kinds of resources to help educate our clients, and this is publicly available as well. So this is really the thinking behind how do you take a fleet of vehicles and move into a future where they can be EV, they can be cleaner. How do we account for those emissions? And so this is something that we're doing every day. You know, granted, this is learning, this is new to all of us, but we are trying to be, you know, a few steps ahead of our clients and really leading the way within the fleet industry. So to get to our projects, let's see, what do you
Roll over, there we go. There's your video.
Okay. Oh. So I had a video, but in time, I won't play it because it is 2 minutes. So I really want to get to our project. So we do have 2 projects, and this first one is at the Merchants Auto Group. And so this, when you heard Merchants, this may be what you thought of, that in Hooksett, we have Merchants Auto. It's a used car dealership. This is kind of the historic roots of the company, where Merchants was founded in Manchester originally 60 years ago by the Singer family, and it has been in the hands of the Singer family up until last year when we had the new investment that I mentioned earlier. So this auto dealership is an active auto dealership. It also provides some service-related work to the fleet business. But the fleet business is over on the other side of the river in Hooksett. So this is on Route 3, Hooksett Road in Hooksett. It's right near, you may know the Tap House. There's a Starbucks across the road. There's a McDonald's right on the corner there. So it's a really good place for new public charging. And this is the inspiration here of both kind of where we come from in the business and seeing this opportunity and seeing a lack of public charging generally in that area. We feel like this is a really strong location for some public charging. And because of the nature, you know, we are engaged with the public at this space. We think this is a great place to allow the public to come in and utilize these chargers. So we're for now envisioning 4 DC fast ports and to provide public access to this. You know, our first cut on budget was $500,000 with a 20% share from Merchants of $100,000. Here's just the maps of where this are, you know, proximity to the highways, to 93 to 293, you know, thinking about what is today available for fast charging. Really the only things in the area that Tesla superchargers up at the rest stop, but of course those are for Tesla only. And then, you know, really you got to go to the mall, New Hampshire, south of Manchester, in order to find another fast charger in the area. So you know, we really think that this location would be helpful to EV drivers and to really advancing the goals of growing the EV market and making charging convenient, reliable, and available to EV drivers. And so we think our goals for the project and our motivations are really well aligned with the CMAQ funding, and of course we're going to be funding other sources as well. But we really want to both, you know, meet the public need to show ourselves and our leadership in this space, and to achieve the positive impacts we can have on air quality, on climate change, greenhouse gas reductions, while contributing to economic development and in the town of Hooksett, and really advancing the technology and showing that with the expertise that we're bringing in working with clients nationwide, that, you know, we understand how the data flows from these chargers to the networks. We monitor EV charging stations for our clients in different parts of the country, so we can see those remotely. We have access to the data, and we, you know, can certainly provide support for reporting and analysis on the data from these chargers. I have a few slides to talk through the evaluation criteria. I just think in the interest of time and the change to the program here, you know, I will just say, you know, we feel like with our in-house expertise and with the experience that we have, that we very much have a strong case for project readiness, and we certainly are committed to the financial readiness that would be required to do this project. the stewardship, you know, that we've owned that property for, well, actually, I can't say 60 years because it was, the business was originally founded in Manchester, not in Hooksett, but we have been there for a long time. We own that property. And certainly we would be committed to it for the long haul and have the internal resources to continue to support it and monitor it with the engineers and technicians that we have, as well as, you know, we really envision having a strong partner in this with a charging network provider that would provide, we would have an SLA, a service level agreement to have requirements for uptime. And then the air quality benefits, as I mentioned, you know, this is working with clients across the country. A lot of the motivation is about achieving their sustainability goals, achieving their greenhouse gas reduction goals. And so we routinely do analysis of air quality benefits and greenhouse gas reductions for our clients in order for them to see the path forward. They may be starting with one EV in their fleet, but they know that this is the direction that they need to get started on this journey, and we help them see the future and the potential with that. So the second project is at our headquarters, which is the Merchants Fleet organization headquarters. And so this, I said, other side of the river, it's 93 exit 10. There's a market basket right off the highway there. We're right up behind the market basket. So we literally have 293 in our backyard and 93 right there. We're right at that crux, so 293 and 93. And at this headquarters, you know, as I mentioned, we have over half of our employees that report into that HQ organization. What we envision here is really not public charging, and this is twofold. I mean, one, because primarily this is about as our employees are actively converting to EVs, we need more charging at this site. And also because we do not own this property, it's also our landlord's preference not to have public charging at this site. It's an office environment, a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 kind of place, and we don't really feel like it is the right location for public, which is why our focus on public is at the other site. However, this would be an amazing demonstration of workplace charging because we're at the forefront of this, because we're incentivizing employees to invest in EVs, to invest in their own home charging solutions. You know, we are drawing in the next generation of leaders who are really looking to be engaged in this industry. And so we have a real opportunity to leverage level 2 charging here for employees that are driving EVs from wherever, coming to work for the day, charging there, driving on their commute home. And we also feel some need within the flexibility of the business to also have some DC fast charge there as well. So that's all built in to this project for our total first estimate of $1 million.
You have just over 2 minutes.
Okay. So, you know, the concept here is we actually have 10 level 2 chargers at this site currently. On any given day, they are all in use because we have that many EVs. We both have corporate EVs that are assigned to certain employees. We have a fleet of EVs that any employee can borrow for a night, a weekend, whatnot. So we kind of are really providing accessibility to EVs. So our employees are getting the experience of being EV drivers, learning about charging, and really living that lifestyle. So when they're talking about clients who are wanting to head in this direction, they really come from a place of understanding what it's all about. So the expansion concept is this whole back line of our parking lot where we would like to eventually fill it with L2s. Really, we wouldn't do these all at once. The demand isn't quite there to put in the total number of 33 ports that we ultimately envision, but we do need new electrical service at this site. So in thinking about how do we work with Eversource and what do we bring in to do our next phase, that we really want to future-proof and think about the long term. So we have been conceiving of a higher level capacity that ultimately could support 33 ports. And then in terms of rolling it out, it would likely be in phases. It's just the kind of diagram of it, and similarly could talk through the whole evaluation criteria, very similar to the first project. I think it's really a demonstration about workplace and the workplace of the future that this project is about versus the public charging. Oops, sorry. So in total at the headquarters location, long term, what we envision would be a total, given the ones we have today, 43 43 level 2 ports and 4 ports on DC fast charge that ultimately would let us do, at least 43 vehicles charged per day, and really with rotating those out. People don't have to charge all day. They could charge for the morning and swap out for somebody else to charge in the afternoon. Up to 86 vehicles with 4 hours of charging each. So in closing, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about who we are and what we're doing and what our vision is here. This is a summary of the 2 projects.
It's right on time. Thank you. Question from the room?
Yes.
So who pays for the charging? Like,
Currently, Merchants covers the electricity costs for the charging at our HQ location.
do you anticipate to do that for the public?
The public, we've had discussion about this. I think we have not made a decision. Ideally, we'd love to open it up and actually have it be free, because we feel we're bringing people, building awareness of the auto dealership, making a connection with the community, making a connection with future customers. Whether or not, the business can really sustain that, we haven't made a final decision on what we would do with charging or not charging the public for it.
And the cost that would be incurred for Eversource to do the expansion, Merchants would have to pay for that.
Yes. Although, I think that my preliminary conversations with Eversource is that there's some amount of work, the thought at the auto location is that the wires need to come over the street. So I think they cover a certain portion of it. And then when they plant it, the new service line on our side of the property, then yeah, we pick it up from there. So.
Okay, so again, I'm having a hard time with taking this off the screen here on our side for some reason.
Try escape.
Escape.
Escape, yes. Okay, let me put it back over here.
Hey, excuse me, it's Ricky DeSillo, DES. I don't know if this is just for us over here, but we're not seeing the slides as they advance. We were just seeing a stuck screen of the first slide. I tried shooting a couple messages your way. I guess you didn't see them. I think if you're doing a presenter view, you need to swap which screen is being presented, perhaps. I'm not really sure, but it was just the first screen.
Insane. That's bizarre. Well, thank you for letting us know. Next time, please feel free to interrupt verbally, because once it's in full screen on our side, we can't see chat. So apologies. We do have the recording that we have here, so we can make that available to everybody who is joining virtually.
Would it be possible to get some of these slideshows sent out with the minutes?
Yeah, the recording will be available, and I have a few of the slideshows already in hand on our side, and we can also, if anybody else would like to share those and make those widely available, we can have a link for those as well. Okay, so Lee, I already gave you some co-host privileges, so you should have the ability to share your screen at this point.
Okay. All right, hopefully you're seeing my title screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you and good morning. I'm Lee Baronas. I'm the Assistant Administrator for the Bureau of Traffic at New Hampshire DOT. Here to talk about a project we have proposed for CMAQ funding, which we've cleverly entitled Londonderry Wyndham Seabrook Signal Corridor Improvement Project. Tell our marketing folks we're involved with that. So this is an engineer's presentation, so please bear with me. And there we go. So our objective in this program is to reduce delay, which would in turn reduce emissions and improve fuel economy, reduce fuel consumption from an improved traffic efficiency. And we're looking at traffic efficiency as being a reduced travel time in the corridor. The approach that we wanted to take was to leverage some existing signal infrastructure that we have to expand coverage of some of the advanced signal systems that we have for some additional efficiency benefits. So we looked around through the corridors that we manage on the state system to try and identify some with continued growth in volume, places where frankly we see that what we have is we want a little bit more. So we identified.
Is he having the same issue where he can't advance the slides?
Oh, are you advancing slides right now? Sorry.
Oh, you are correct. I have.
What is going on?
It might
Well,
be
this may be
vector
me.
view versus the other view.
He's a co-host. There we go. Now it's advancing.
Yeah, it wasn't advancing for me either. I was looking at the wrong screen. So I won't recap because I'm sure I made it clear verbally. I won't recap the slide. So we were looking for our locations. We've identified 3: Londonderry on Route 102, Wyndham, Route 111, and Seabrook on US Route 1. So going through those individually, Londonderry, we have shown here on this map, which hopefully everyone's seeing, 4 intersections in yellow that are in an existing coordinated system. We've identified 2 additional intersections to the south in red that we'd like to add to the system. With the addition, we would also add enhanced detection to get a greater flexibility in how we are able to process traffic through those intersections. And with the addition, then we would go through and optimize the whole corridor. Currently, only the 4 are under coordinated control. By adding these 2 additional, we'd be able to move that whole corridor in a more efficient manner. The Wyndham location is at exit 3, 111 to the west. We have 3 intersections that are currently coordinated, and we would add 2 more, North Lowell Road, and then the Lowell Road, Hardwood Road intersections would be added. To do this, we need to extend our data communications from the existing signal system to include those 2 additional, and we'd have the opportunity to optimize the whole corridor. Not in your planning commission area, but of interest would be the 3rd location, which is Seabrook. Currently, that operates under an adaptive signal control system. The yellow intersections are the ones that are included currently, and we have 4 additional intersections to the south that we would like to include. Again, we would be extending our data communications, either fiber or radio, from to gather them in under the big umbrella, and then have an opportunity to add those intersections to the optimized and adaptive system to try and improve things. We are at, we're trying to squeeze the last couple percentage points of efficiency out of a system that is pretty saturated at this point, but it is we feel that we would have some improvements that are worthy of this. Besides the obvious benefits of improved efficiency, we have some additional benefits. We're extending the advanced signalization, which gives us more options under a controlled system. It also improves what I call the visibility of traffic conditions. With the additional communication and coordination, we're able to gather information of traffic reaching each of these locations, developing performance measures. We have lots of opportunities to observe conditions remotely through the detection cameras.
We're just under 2 minutes remaining.
Okay. And then it also provides, which is a real benefit to us, remote access for troubleshooting, so that when we hear of issues, people call with complaints. Very frequently we hear not cycling properly, whatever that means to whoever's calling. Rather than having to send a technician to the field, we're able to troubleshoot this 24/7 from, well, in some cases, the technician's bedroom if he fires up his laptop. And we can hopefully, resolve matters before the following morning commute. Also gives us some versatile detection. We have opportunities for additional ITS, integrated transportation system equipment, cameras, information for TSMO, plus it also provides us data communications for future expansion as we modernize with connected and automated vehicles. And then finally, my last page is we're seeking $700,000 with $450,000 for the construction. And of that, 80% would be federal funds, $560,000. So that is where I will take questions.
Lee, this is Nate. I do have a quick, just clarifying question, only because it matters how we do the air quality analysis and what tools we use. Londonderry and Wyndham would not become adaptive systems. You're just expanding an existing timed coordinated system. Seabrook is the only adaptive system of the 3 corridors. Am I correct in that?
That is correct. We're not intending to convert these to adaptive, just coordinated. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Great.
Nouria.
Okay, we have Nouria Energy presenting, and let's try to get the screen sharing this time. Apologies again to Merchants Fleet. Zoom. Maybe do I have to? So we share the screen.
I don't know where it's not.
Go here. And I'm going to go ahead and put it into full screen mode. And I'm going to need folks who are remote to tell us that they're seeing the slides advance. So you should have seen a slide advance to say, Nouria, who we are.
You are not in slideshow mode right now.
What on earth? Do we need to do something down here? Any Adam, any folks in the room who have more experience with this?
I think you need to go into the slideshow mode first and then share.
Okay, let's try that. Stop share. PowerPoint, slideshow mode. So we're seeing it up there, and now I'm going to share a screen that is slideshow mode. Let's try this. Okay, let's see.
No, we're not.
No, we're not seeing it on our side.
Oh, yeah, you are. Look, it just moved.
Oh, good. Oh, it's just slow. Fantastic. Okay.
Is it, how about now? Is the home audience seeing?
Yes,
You see?
that worked.
Can you advance it?
Yep.
Good.
Great. Thank you all.
Okay, let me start again. Good morning, thanks for having us in. Like the others who are doing EV presentations, we're a little disappointed. I think there's a pop my balloon joke in there somewhere from the past couple of weeks. Anyway, I'm Tom Healy with Nouria. I'm the Vice President of Facilities Development and Maintenance, and with me is Badih El-Nemr. He's the Executive VP of Nouria. We operate service stations throughout New England. We've got about 150 convenience store service station locations, approximately 38 locations in New Hampshire, and we're trying to be at the forefront of this transition from fossil fuel internal combustion engines to EV electrification of the country for electric vehicles. So with that said, part of our business strategy is to move forward with any new locations that we're building, is to make sure that we're including EV. We don't want to be known as a petroleum company. We want to be known as a convenience company and mobility company that can service our customers, whether that's going to be petroleum fuels for the immediate future, and we want to play a big role in the transition over to electrification. So with that, we have a couple of locations. I'm going to and let me just say, we're a privately owned company. This is the second generation of ownership. So I point that out just to indicate the commitment that our company has to electrification of our locations and future proofing to reduce the carbon footprint. Badih is one of his primary focuses right now is to develop a strategy for our company for electric vehicle implementation. And I saw Lisa's presentation. I had a lot of information about all the different companies that are out there, whether it be hardware, software, applications. It's really a challenge. There's so many companies out there, and it takes a lot of time and effort to make sure that we're putting together a proper business strategy for this. So I'm going to let Badih get into the 2 locations that we have applied for funding in your planning area.
Thanks, Tom. So we actually operate 4 EV chargers right now. This site has 2 EV chargers. This is in Wareham, Massachusetts. And just wanted to give you guys kind of visual of what we're building and how we try to set up our projects with EV chargers. So we've been around since 1989. We have 150 company operated convenience stores and growing, and over 50 car washes. We have, again, like I mentioned, existing EV stations that we operate. We were awarded the Chain of the Year by Convenience Store Decisions in 2022. And like Tom had mentioned, we are looking ahead, just trying to offer the best amenities, the best services for our guests as retail advances. And EV, we think, is one of them. So the first site that we're proposing is in Londonderry on Rockingham Road, New Hampshire. One thing to mention is we do have federal experience. We were awarded Mass EVIP funding, and we've installed those chargers in that first site that you've seen, that I showed you in the photo. So this first project is in Londonderry. Our application, we submitted for 2 chargers for $400,000. So we'd be requesting 300. The total project cost is 400. We'd be requesting 320,000. We are able to fully fund this project at this time. We have no material statements on our audits. And stewardship and sustainability, to manage these chargers, any software upgrades or maintenance issues, they can usually get, they're managed by a third party for the EV units. They can be fixed within usually 24 to 48 hours if there's anything really serious. And hardware, where we have third-party maintenance program. We actually did, since we have some chargers, we have small air quality analysis. So our charger in Logan Airport actually offset over $400,000 carbon emissions. And I picked a week in that first location in November for Wareham. And so in about a week, we offset over 6,000 carbon emissions, and which equates to about 333 fuel gallons per week for our 2 charges there. Okay, next slide. And yeah, so we applied for 2 chargers. If that changes with the NEVI specifications, we can revisit that. And we were thinking about 150 kilowatt units. Given that we're convenience stores, customers are more transient, they might not stay as long. So we'd want it to be faster. And the cost would be for infrastructure and for the EV units, so it would cover kind of the full spectrum. And the other thing to mention is at our sites, we'd offer good amenities for our guests. These will be all new sites, so we'll have food, we'll have seating, and different perks for guests who choose our location to charge them. The second location is in Wyndham. So the first location was just off Route 101. This one is on Route 28. And the first location is, we have the site plan approved. This one is, we're still approving or pursuing permits, but we have the site plan already. So again, this is the same setup, 2 EV chargers, 150 kilowatt. It's going to be a similar C-store model, similar style, third-party maintenance, and software or any software issues can be remotely fixed within a day. And these are just the same air quality analysis I included in the first, but you can kind of get an idea of the carbon offsets we might get from this. We submitted the same things. We'd like to install 2 chargers here. And any of our new sites, like I mentioned, will have food and other services. This is the charger that we have now in some of our sites, the 3 of our sites. It's a level 300 kilowatt unit. It's branded. We can actually advertise on that. We're working on that now, and kind of what we're looking towards is this is 180 kilowatt charger, but the chargers come with bigger screens. So we think it'd be kind of an added bonus to have some food images displayed for our guests while they're charging. So this is kind of more state of the art with dual payment, etc. I have hard copies of our presentation, so you guys, I'll leave that with you. This is our contact information as well.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Stop sharing on this side. And our last presenter, we have James Penfold from Revision Energy. There he is. James, I'm gonna give, oops, no, he moved. There you are. There's still I'm stuck. I'm stuck over here. Okay, hold on just a second on this side. Okay. Okay, James, do you have the power?
Okay. Yep. I think
Okay,
that's good. Do you see that?
We do not see your screen yet, no. Here, something's coming up.
Yes.
Yes, now we see it.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. James Penfold, Director of E-Mobility Solutions for Revision Energy. That basically means I'm in charge of all EV charging infrastructure, business development, advocacy work, policy work in the state of New Hampshire and also Massachusetts. Also work closely with my esteemed colleague Barry Woods, who's the Senior Director of E-Mobility at Revision Energy out of our South Portland office. Barry has been involved with heading up our EV charging division now for about 8 years. He's the chairman of the board of Plug-in America. So he has deep experience and it's valuable to the company that we have someone like that in our team. I'm the chairman of the Drive Electric New Hampshire Coalition Infrastructure Committee. So we're working actively at the State House and at the PUC to advance all EV initiatives. As you may all be aware, right now there are very few funding opportunities in the state. So we're trying to advance some utility make-ready initiatives, and the CMAQ funding is, we were hoping that would be available to us, but on that note, we recognize the fact that it was totally oversubscribed, and I certainly won't be unhappy to hear about some pedestrian and cycling lanes being funded. So we welcome the opportunity to go through an RFP type process, such as the VW Trust Fund and also NEVI. So to that end, our projects, we actually set them up from the get-go to be CMAQ compliant, NEVI compliant, having been aware of the initial guidelines for the configurations of NEVI sites. But anyway, sorry, just to move ahead here, a little background on the company. We're about 400 employees, established 2003. So just going on 20 years. 2017, we became a fully employee-owned business. So we're what's called an ESOP, and we are also certified B Corporation, which, if you're not familiar, is independent global verification program that takes a closer look at your sustainability measures, your employee diversification, etc. And every year we keep improving our score, and we're now at the point where we're considered a top 5% company in the world for sustainability and for workplace environment. So we're very proud of that. And we have 5 offices. We've got 2 in Maine and 2 in New Hampshire, 1 in Brentwood and 1 in Enfield in the Upper Valley. And then we have 1 in North Andover, Mass. So we will be servicing this out of either of those New Hampshire locations. We also are first in the nation to have an in-house clean energy training program for electricians. So we will take someone straight out of high school and train them as an apprentice all the way up to the point of being a master electrician. And some of those electricians will also be going through the special EV training program, which was just formalized yesterday with that ruling that that Bill was mentioning. So just a little bit of background on our involvement with EVs. We already have been working in Maine with the VW funded project. So we're partners with about 10 sites there, and we're going to also be owning and operating at 3 sites. And in New Hampshire, can't talk too much about it because it's still in process, but we're going to be installation partners and also own and operate our own sites at multiple locations. So here's just a few examples of some of the work that we've done. Deeply involved with DC fast chargers, and these are all high-powered, up to 100. These particular ones are up to 125 kilowatts. So what brought us to these locations in Manchester and Bedford? We've got 2 sites that I was going to propose today. Firstly, we wanted to make sure that they're serving alternative fuel corridors. So Route 101 and 293 in this particular case met that criteria. And then the other concern that we had was that this is a map from the NEVI, the state's NEVI plan, and there's going to be a restriction on how close a site can be to an existing NEVI compliant site, and there is actually a site right now at the Manchester Mall, and we expect that may preclude some of the local sites because there's a 50-mile restriction. So what we really wanted to do was to be able to not just support highway travelers, but also local residents that may not have access to EV charging at home. So I just wanted to bring your attention to this site, this is a National Research Laboratory site, NREL, and this is a tool called EV Pro Lite. And you can plug in your location you're considering adding chargers, and it will give you a guideline on the number of level 2s and DC fast chargers. So I plugged some numbers in here for Manchester. It already had Manchester as a site. It allows you to consider 10% transition of the vehicles in that area and how many chargers they would need to support that. So in this particular case, 10% was 25,000 cars, and they initially considered 80% of vehicles would have access to a home charger, which means that we would need 130 DC fast charging plugs to support those 20% of people, for example, that don't have access to a home charger. So then I thought, well, let's look at a place like Manchester that has a lot of multi-unit dwellings, and you plug in 50% of people that don't have home chargers. These are people parking on the streets, for example, or even at an apartment building that they won't have dedicated charging. And then it practically doubles to 213. So I just wanted to bring your attention to this with our particular project in Manchester. That was what we were looking at, was to be able to support the community's transition to charging. And with the new NEVI guidelines, the Biden administration has an emphasis on 40% of the benefits of these programs should accrue to lower and moderate income folks.
James,
So
there's just over 5 minutes remaining. Just wanted to.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Does that include, that's because I had two presentations?
Yeah, so you have 14 minutes and now we're
Yep.
down to about 5. I just wanted
Thank
to
you. Yeah,
flag that for you.
I appreciate it. I'll try and crank through it. So the first site that we have is the Market Basket in Manchester, and just wanted to draw your attention to. So here's the Market Basket, right next to SHNU, the Fisher Cats baseball arena, a bunch of apartment buildings. UNH campus here, and all very close to 293 and Route 3, both of which are key travel corridors. So just ran some traffic numbers. You're looking at about 26,000 on the access road, and 13,200 and 19,000 here, all within close proximity to the Market Basket. This is just kind of an idea of where we would locate the chargers in the parking lot. So then the second project that we were proposing is the Hannaford in Bedford on Route 101, another alternative fuel travel corridor. And this one had the following traffic numbers that seem to be high enough to support high air quality analysis results. Here's just a picture of roughly where we would have it. And the equipment that we're proposing is the very highest powered charging technology available right now. So this is a product that we actually have experience installing. These are capable of up to 350 kilowatts. The NEVI configuration requires 150 kilowatts per unit, and we would be meeting at least that 150 kilowatts. So that tends to bump the price up to a much higher level, because you have this power cabinet here. We would have to have one of these dedicated to each charger, but it would also offer that high throughput and utilization, which is what we're trying to achieve with this. The other final note I'll make about the CMAQ tool, air quality analysis tool, I've already brought this up to various folks, that it really doesn't do a good job of representing the air quality benefits of these very expensive, high-powered chargers. Mostly because right now it just takes into consideration a level 2 charger, which might have a car that sits there all day. Our objective with this is the more kilowatts you can put through the charger, the faster you can cycle vehicles through that station, and the more people you can support in their transition to EVs. So I'm sure I've got a million other things I could talk about, but I'm happy to take any questions from people. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, James. Questions?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next on the agenda, consideration of fiscal year 2023 to 26. Nouria.
Bruce, I will be quick because we are approaching 11:30. This is the final item of business today, and it's an important item of business. Can everybody see this in full screen mode online?
No.
No. Oh, okay. Great. How about now?
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Kristen. As just a recap, we walked through the draft tip in a lot of detail at last month's meeting. A copy of the draft tip was included in all of your packets for this meeting. We released it on the day of the last TAC meeting, which was January 19th, for a 30-day comment period. That comment period will continue through Monday, February 20th. We have received comments from New Hampshire DOT. I'll walk through what those comments are in just a minute. And we will hold a public hearing. Our MPO will hold a public hearing to consider adoption of the tip on February 21st. The comments, New Hampshire DOT submitted comments to all four of the MPOs. A couple of those comments were applicable to our draft fiscal 23 to 26 tip. The first was individually listing a project known as Candia Raymond 43839. I'll talk about that in just a moment. That is a resurfacing project on Route 101 that is funded in part through a statewide program called the Pavement Tier 1 Resurfacing Program. So some funds need to be added to that program in order to accommodate the Candia Raymond project. And then there are kind of technical corrections to a few dozen different scope descriptions around the state. A small handful of those are applicable to our region, those being a project in Bow, Candia, one of the Exit 4A child projects, a project in Manchester, as well as the two Route 101 projects in Moulton, Milford, Amherst, and Bedford. They're non-substantive corrections they don't change anything about the scope of the project. It's just that scopes need to be presented in a certain format to conform with federal requirements. And so there are some technical items being added to these scopes to make sure that they check the boxes at the federal level. Candia Raymond 43839 is the rehabilitation and reconstruction of a section of Route 101 in those two communities. The funding in the draft tip is about $2.45 million. Construction is scheduled to start in 2024. The difference here is that New Hampshire DOT has now, it was entirely funded through that Pavement Tier 1 resurfacing program. It's now going to be funded through that, as well as another statewide program called Pavement Tier 1 Rehab. And because of it's being funded by two different programs, we now need to individually list it. It was included in Appendix B in the draft as just a program of the Pavement Tier 1 resurfacing, but now it needs to be listed individually, and we will do that. So we do support the incorporation of the Department of Transportation's recommended changes, those handful of changes I just talked about. We'd welcome any comments or questions from any of you at this time. If not, we would welcome a motion that we recommend adoption of the tip at the public hearing that our MPO will hold next Tuesday, with the inclusion of the suggested changes from New Hampshire DOT.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Anything else?
Was there a vote? Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was, I'm trying to be quick, yeah. Not a whole lot. I did walk through every project in the tip in, either wonderful or
great.
excruciating detail. depending on
I
your
read the
perspective
whole
last
thing.
month.
It was wonderful.
Okay, good.
I did.
Anybody have any other business?
I asked. And then I set it down and then I.
Printed it out.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I like
Any
that
other
kind of stuff.
business? Motion to adjourn.
So.
Second.
Thank you to all the presenters. I really
thank you.
appreciate
Great
it.
job.
The presentations were excellent. Thank you to all of you for your time and effort in that.
It was great.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Have a bagel.